What's going on, guys? Welcome back to week number 14 of the Everything Ravens podcast. My name is Logan. I'm the host of this podcast. I run the Instagram account at everything_Ravens, which is the biggest Ravens fan community on Instagram, sitting at 39,000 followers as we start this recording. Make sure you follow that account as well as follow at Everything Ravens podcast on Instagram. It's ran by our great executive producer, Spencer Silverstein. That account will keep you up to date with everything going on, specifically with this podcast. So it's a week one pod. We only have one guest here today, Kyrie. Brooks was unable to record today, but Kyrie's here.
What's up, guys? Great to be back. Football is back, baby. This Sunday. I can't believe it. So much to talk about. Let's get to it.
Yeah, let's not keep you guys waiting any longer. As we are recording this podcast, it is Thursday, so that means we have the Chiefs and Texans tonight. But I know you guys don't really care about that. You guys care about Sunday, the Ravens versus the Browns. What's your thoughts on that, first of all, Kyrie?
I think this is going to be a very interesting game because the Browns are kind of unknown. New head coach, new coaching staff. Baker Mayfield has a lot to prove. It's going to be a redemption story for him this season. I do think they got better, especially in the offensive line. So they're all going to be a dangerous threat. They did kind of be as bad last season, the first time we met up with them. But I'm more interested in see Lamar Jackson taking that next big step. Mark Ingram was just talking about a couple days ago, saying he's like 1,000 times better. Improved defense that was already pretty good. We did lose Earl Thomas, but we got Calais Campbell. I think our D-line's better, Derek Wolfe. So I think the Ravens are going to be very impressive. I'm expecting a little bit of a shootout. I don't think it's going to be a defensive type of game. I think it's going to be a lot of points spread on the board, but it's going to be very exciting to watch. But I think the Ravens have to win this game, start the season strong, make a statement, big W, entering the season. The Ravens had a lot of luck with starting the season off with a win. Hopefully that continues.
I mean, I'll be the first to say that I don't like the Cleveland Browns. Their fan base has gotten rather annoying lately, especially with them getting like OBJ and stuff, even though they weren't very good last year. We all know that. So starting off the season, smoking Cleveland, that'd be a great start. I would do anything to see the Ravens have a week one like they have the past two seasons.
Yeah, I mean, I can't stand the Browns. I don't know who I hate more, the Browns or the Steelers. But with the Browns fan base, they get all these good players, but once again, they're still kind of, average, not even average, kind of mediocre. I mean, when the last time these guys been in the playoffs? And with the Browns, always dysfunction everywhere you go, ownership, constant coaching changes. So I will hope the Ravens blow them out, but I do think the Browns are changing. They're going up in the right direction. I'm a huge Baker Mayfield fan, so I want him to do good, just not against us. But I do see the Ravens start off aggressive and start scoring early. I do see them kind of taking, going far away from the game. The Browns won't be able to come back. It all depends on how it goes. But the Browns defense is something that I'm kind of nervous about. They usually have their way with us on the offensive side of the ball. So we're going to have to kind of look out for that.
Yeah, one thing that I would like to point out, it goes for the Browns specifically, but for kind of the league in general, is that the Ravens, after having the season that we had last year, being 14-2, being the number one seed in AFC, Lamar Jackson winning the MVP, we're going to have a huge target on our back this upcoming season. Teams are going to game plan more probably for us. Teams are going to come into our games extra prepared, extra motivated to beat us because of the success that not only the Ravens and Lamar Jackson had last year. So that's one thing I would like to point out. And then Cleveland, obviously, they're in our division. We won the division last year. We were the ones that ended their season last year. So they're probably going to come into this game extra motivated.
Yeah, definitely agree with you on that. I mean, the Browns have a lot to prove. We did cost them this season, so they're going to want to get some payback. Another interesting thing I'm kind of looking out for is offensive coordinator Greg Roman came out and said, hey, we're going to use all these running backs. It's going to be a committee week-by-week basis. I'm very excited to see that because I've been hearing a lot of great things about J.K. Dobbins coming out of training camp. Ingram's going to be a stud. Hills too, but I'm really looking out for those two in particular and how they're going to split up all the carries. And Lamar's still going to have his running packages. Obviously, they're going to be a run-first team. So I kind of want to see how all this is going to work out, especially now with more backs in the backfield. What is your take on that, and what do you think you're going to see week one?
Yeah, I would like to point that out too. I agree with that. With the Ravens having these four very good running backs. And look at the Browns. They cut Christian Kirksey this offseason. They lost Joe Schobert. So that linebacking core is going to be rather weak for them. They're led by a bunch of young guys. I believe it's that Sion Taki dude they drafted last year. They have Mac Wilson. So a lot of inexperience there. So I believe the Ravens are going to run them. They're going to use all four of these backs, depending if Justice Hill plays or not. I couldn't tell you if he's going to play right now. He's been on injury report, but even if we have three backs, they're going to use all three of these guys, and I believe they're going to try to run the ball right down Cleveland's throat early and often, set the tone in this game.
Yeah, I agree. And then also too, I think it's going to be very interesting to see, I think just because of the pandemic, how it's going to be watching these games without fans in attendance. I know there's a couple of teams, I believe 4 or 5, that actually are going to have like a small percentage of fans. But I know the Ravens, and I think the Browns too, are not going to have no fans in attendance. So I'm I don't know, a little nervous about that because I'm also an NBA fan, and just watching those games, it feel like I'm watching like a high school practice or something. So I'm kind of a little nervous because the fans do a lot, in football games. It's very different from basketball. They do a lot, have a lot of impact into the game. So what do you think about that? Watch, this is going to be the first game anybody ever watched, well, tonight too on Thursday with no fans.
Yeah, especially given our circumstances too. M&T Bank Stadium is known as one of the toughest places to play. Our fans are always loud. They always make an impact, so I'm sure that's going to have an effect. But I believe the Ravens aren't really focusing on that. I believe they're going to focus on their game plan and they're going to focus on beating the Browns. But yeah, for sure, the not having fans there, I believe it definitely will play a factor.
Yeah, then another thing too with the pandemic is now, there was no preseason games. You was I think teams was given a couple more additional practice player spots, but I think it's still that's also interesting too because you gotta think now the Ravens kind of didn't have a lot of time to prepare. They know the offense. I mean, it's the same offense from last year, so they do have the leg up compared to the Browns, who came up with a whole new coaching staff. You had no preseason games to kind of learn this system, anything like that. I think the Browns are at a big disadvantage with that. But it's going to be kind of interesting to see how the Ravens kind of adjusted to that during the offseason and see did they really get all the reps they needed? Did they really get all the preparation they needed? This is going to be a very different type of season. I do think because they kept the coaching staff the same, the offense the same, the defense the same, I think it's going to be not a too bad of a transition, but something to be looking out for as well, just because of this pandemic, no preseason games, no reps, had to make some big decisions as far as cutting players who, maybe wouldn't have been cut if there was preseason games.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. And like you brought up the point with the Ravens and the Browns not having preseason to really get a feel of things. One thing that I really think is going in our favor is if we know from last year, our offense has excellent chemistry. Whether it's Lamar, Ingram, Andrews, Hollywood, whoever, they all have excellent chemistry. They all mesh very well. And our offense didn't really switch up from last season besides us losing Marshall Yonda. So I think having to fill the right guard with Fluker, Tyree Phillips, Ben Powers, whoever they put out there, that's really going to be the biggest adjustment. But our offense overall, we already know we mesh pretty well together. As for Cleveland, with the whole new coaching staff and everything, that makes it questionable for them. Uh, and we all know Cleveland's offense didn't mesh the greatest last year. If you remember OBJ and Jarvis in that Cardinals game telling players on the Cardinals to come get me. So we all know that they didn't really mesh very well. Baker Mayfield had a huge sophomore slump. So I think just from a team chemistry standpoint, that leans way in our favor. And I think that makes a huge impact when it comes to football.
Yeah, another thing too that I found very interesting is the Ravens broke their streak. They did not sign a single undrafted free agent to the main roster, and I think definitely, like I said, no preseason games had a lot to do with that. I mean, this is a streak that's going on for years. I mean, we have been known to getting some great talents, undrafted guys, and we didn't sign a single one this year. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I believe that was entirely on not having the preseason. I feel like if we would have gotten to see these guys in game action, we probably would have kept one on the active roster. But it's just more unknown because you, good as practice is, you still can't really go off of practice. You have to see what they do in game. So, I mean, like the thing is, the streak isn't completely over yet either. The Ravens could sign an undrafted free agent still. I mean, we have until Sunday. If they don't sign one by Sunday, then the streak's officially over. But one thing I would like to point out is I guarantee that Jake Breland, the tight end out of Oregon, would have made our roster had he not been still recovering from injury. Because I believe the coaching staff likes him a lot. He's just hurt.
Yeah, definitely agree on that. I loved him coming out. I thought it was a big pickup for us as an undrafted free agent. Definitely think we could use another depth at tight end, since we lost Hayden Hurst. But, we still got Boyle, we still got Mark Andrews. So, we're pretty good at that spot. But another thing, too, is I know some Ravens fans are probably going to look out for, I am too, is going to be Elliott. We let go of Earl Thomas. Thank God that's done and over with. But now we got Elliott, who's kind of unproven. He's been battling injuries since he came into the league, but he has a lot of promise. I loved him in college. But what do you think? What do you think? How you think he's going to play this Sunday? I mean, this is a lot on his shoulders. I know our defense coordinator Wink thinks he's ready. I know Chuck Clark thinks he's ready. I know the defense believes in him. But this is some big shoes to fill. I mean, even before Earl Thomas, you had Eric Weddle, Tony Jefferson. I mean, these are big shoes to fill.
Yeah, without a doubt, Elliott's talented. We all know that. The kid's very talented. He almost won the Thorpe when he was in college at Texas. So we all know he can play, but I do have questions. Like you said, he has never started an actual regular season NFL game before. He showed promise in the preseason, ended up getting hurt his first two seasons. So I I'm very intrigued to see how he does. And the thing I think the Ravens know with Elliott is if he goes out there and they don't like what they see from him, they do have a contingency plan with Anthony Levine in the fold. Anthony Levine has been with this team for a long time. He knows the system very well, and he's a guy that Wink trusts he could put out there if Elliott were to not do very good. So I am a little bit worried about to see what Elliott's going to do, but I know the Ravens have a plan if it doesn't go how they think it's going to.
Yeah, and I wanted to touch base a little bit too on tonight's game. I know a lot of Ravens fans probably think, "Oh, Chiefs and Texans, yeah, I'll just watch because football is back." But I think this game is going to be very important because you got to think the Ravens are probably going to be battling against the Chiefs for the number one seed in AFC. So if you're a Ravens fans, I think you want the Texans to beat the Chiefs tonight. Now I know the Chiefs are loaded, and Texans lost DeAndre Hopkins. Well, they traded him away because that head coach Bill O'Brien is to me one of the stupidest GMs, head coaches, whatever you want to call them, traded away for basically nothing. But I'm rooting for the Texans tonight just because it's going to come down to Kansas City, Baltimore for that number one seed in the AFC. I think it's a very important game to watch tonight if you're a Ravens fan.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, it's very important to watch. As you said, Kansas City, Baltimore, that's most likely going to be the AFC Championship. I don't want to sound too cocky right now because we all know what happened when we got too cocky last year, but it's basically consensus that everyone thinks that's going to end up being an AFC Championship game. So it's a very important game, obviously, and you can't count out Houston either. I mean, Houston's going to be competitive as long as they have Deshaun Watson playing because Deshaun Watson's a top tier quarterback. So you can't count out Houston. Obviously Kansas City is the team to beat right now. So it's a really important game.
And speaking of Deshaun Watson, I know a lot of people saw the contract, the huge money given to him. I knew this was going to be a domino effect. We saw the Patrick Mahomes deal. Now we got Deshaun Watson deal. Now everyone's asking Lamar Jackson how this is going to set him up for a big payday. And also, too, Jalen Ramsey, he just got a big contract. And now everybody's looking at Marlon Humphrey because guess what? Marlon Humphrey's up next. I mean, this is a true shutdown corner in this league. He's going to want a huge payday. So my question to you is, how are these contracts going to go about the Ravens keeping these guys, especially now Eric DeCosta is looking at Deshaun Watson's contract, and he's looking at Jalen Ramsey's contract. He's saying, okay, how am I going? I'm going to have to pay these guys around this money, if not more. Especially if the Ravens win the Super Bowl this year. If Lamar Jackson wins the Super Bowl, he definitely is going to demand more money than Deshaun Watson. And then now, the same thing for Marlon Humphrey. So, what do you take on that with those two getting these big contracts? And now that's going to probably be a domino effect to Lamar Jackson and especially Marlon Humphrey.
First of all, the Ravens can make it work. You saw Kansas City. They signed Patrick Mahomes to $50 million a year. I'm about 90% positive that Lamar Jackson is not going to get that much. He'll probably be in the 40 range, but they can for sure make it work because Kansas City not only gave Mahomes the huge contract extension, they gave Hill an extension, they gave Kelsey an extension, they gave Chris Jones an extension, they signed Frank Clark to a huge deal. So if Kansas City can make it work, anybody can. And with Lamar, like I said, $40 million, that's where I project he'll get. Marlon's probably going to get close to that Jalen Ramsey deal. And you got to look at other players around the league. Like last year, Laramie Tunsil signing that huge extension. That plays a big factor in Ronnie Stanley, who will be a free agent after this next year. And also this offseason, George Kittle getting the big extension. That could play a factor in Mark Andrews. So it goes beyond the Jalen Ramsey and Deshaun Watson extensions. There's 4 key players that I believe the Ravens are going to have to resign when the time comes: Lamar Jackson, Ronnie Stanley, Marlon Humphrey, and Mark Andrews. And the market's not looking too great for us right now. But like I said, we can make it work.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. And another thing too is I don't get me wrong, I am a huge Ozzie Newsome fan. I love Ozzie and Ozzie we trust. I used to always say that. But the one thing I love about Eric DeCosta a little bit more than Ozzie is I feel as though Eric is more aggressive in signing players in free agency, and he's willing to spend a little bit more. I feel like Ozzie was a little similar to Belichick as far as he'll pay you, but you have to be the right player for him to pay. He wouldn't be afraid to let some big talents walk out in free agency and replace them through the draft. He did plenty of times, and it worked. But with Eric DeCosta, I feel like he's a little more aggressive. He gave Earl Thomas the big money, the big contract. I'm pretty sure he's going to pay Lamar Jackson. I'm pretty sure he's going to pay Marlon Humphrey. I feel a little more confident that Eric DeCosta is now fully in charge, that he's going to get these contracts done. But the market is not looking too good. I mean, the Ravens are going to have to spend a lot of money, especially for Mark Andrews, because he's going to have another breakout year. Like you said, Lamar Jackson, I think he's going to be in that $40 range. So it's going to be very interesting to see. But I do think it is possible with the Ravens. Another thing is, too, I do think because of all this, I don't really think Judon will be with us after the season, especially if he does better than he did last season. I mean, if he has like 15 plus sacks, you can just kiss him out the door. I mean, you can just say goodbye to him at this point. I think the deal a contract can still get done, but I feel that the Ravens really wanted to get done, it would have got done already. Especially now after this, he signed the I don't know. I just feel like they could have worked it out. I think he's going to play on the tag this year. He's going to do good. But like I said, if he does really good this season, which I think he will, I don't know how you're going to keep him then expect to pay all these other guys. I think somebody's going to have to be the odd man out, and I think it's going to be Judon.
I mean, historically, when it comes to the Ravens, Eric worked under Ozzie for a lot of years. He has a lot of the same philosophies as Ozzie did. And when it comes to Judon, the Ravens historically have never paid pass rushers because whether it's Darius Smith, Paul Kruger, Pernell McPhee when he was originally here, I mean, they're always confident in their ability to draft and replace pass rushers. The only guy they've truly really ever paid was Terrell Suggs, and it's because Terrell Suggs just made such an impact here that you couldn't let him walk out the door. And I think with the Ravens, you can't let Lamar Jackson walk out the door, a top-tier quarterback. They don't grow on trees. You saw what they did with Flacco. Even though Flacco wasn't quite a top-tier quarterback, they still kept him. If they feel like a guy is their franchise guy, they're going to pay to keep him. Because at the time when Flacco got his massive extension, he was the highest paid quarterback in the league. When you look at Marlon Humphrey, he's an elite shutdown corner. They're not going to let that walk out the door. Ronnie Stanley, an elite blindside protector. They're not going to let that walk out the door. Mark Andrews, maybe they'll let him walk out the door, but I feel like with his chemistry with Lamar Jackson and how big of a role he plays in the success to this team, I feel like they're going to do everything they can to re-sign him as well. So I feel like, as you said, out of those 4, when it comes to Matthew Judon, he's definitely the odd man out. Before we end this, what's your final score predictions for Sunday, Ravens and Browns, and how do you see the game actually playing out? Not just the score, but how do you see it playing out?
Yeah, I think it's going to start very slow. I think the Ravens are going to have to, knock off some rust. Same for the Browns. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game in the first half. I think maybe like 7-10 Ravens lead heading to halftime. I think it's going to be that low-scoring of a game. Second half, I think things are going to kick up a little bit more. I think the Browns are going to start getting the offense going. I think they're going to start running the football. Stefanski, he's known for running the football. We saw he did Minnesota with Dalvin Cook. He's going to bring that to Cleveland. I think they're going to run the football down our throats, start to wear out the defense, and we're going to start seeing some play action passes. We're going to start seeing Baker Mayfield throwing to Jarvis Landry, throwing to Odell Beckham, not stranding the defense, but make some big plays. And I think Lamar and the Ravens and offense are going to respond. John Harbaugh has been known time and time again. He can go aggressive. He's not afraid to go for it. Same thing for Lamar Jackson. So I think second half is going to be a completely different game. So at the end, I got the Ravens going 35-24. 35-24 Ravens.
Yeah, one thing that Wink Martindale brought up this week, I'm pretty sure he brought it up today, is that he expects Patrick Queen to get tested in this game. Patrick Queen being a rookie, the Browns are going to test him with Nick Chubb without a doubt. But one thing that I think is going in our favor when it comes to playing against Nick Chubb is we really beefed up the defensive line this offseason. We traded for Calais Campbell, we signed Derek Wolfe, and then we added to our linebacker core, drafting Patrick Queen in the first round, Malik Harrison in the third round. So the Ravens are ready for this type of game. With the Browns, with Kevin Stefanski and his run oriented schemes, they're going to try to bring it at us. The Ravens are prepared. And the Ravens, one thing I would like to point out too is we get Tavon Young back healthy this year. I think that's going to make a huge difference in our secondary when it comes to the game. To this game, I believe Tavon Young had an interception off of Baker Mayfield when last season he was actually healthy, but that's going to make a huge difference. But as for this game, I see it playing out a similar way you are. I believe the Browns might start off a bit faster than us, but I believe that we're going to find a way. We're going to pull out in the second half, and I'm going to go with a score of like 38 to like 23, somewhere around that ballpark that you were saying. I believe that the Ravens are going to find their footing and really take off in this game.
Yeah, most definitely. And one thing though, I wouldn't be surprised if the Browns start having problems and have a turnover problem. If Baker Mayfield is still having those problems with throwing the ball to the other team, and we see some interceptions or fumbles, the Ravens are going to blow them out. The Ravens are just too good, too well disciplined. If the Browns have turnover problems early, I would not be surprised at all if we have like a Ravens and Dolphins game type situation where the Ravens just blow them off the field. But that's only if the Browns shoot themselves in the foot. If they don't do that, then like I said, it's going to be what me just discussed. But if the Browns start committing bad habits and start turning over the football early on, the Ravens are going to steamroll.
I would like to make a bold prediction for this game before we end this. As I mentioned earlier, the Browns, they got rid of Christian Kirksey and Joe Schobert this offseason. They have a very inexperienced linebacker core. So I'm going to make a really bold prediction and say that Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins both rush for over 100 yards. And I believe that Lamar, I don't think they're going to rush him as much, but I believe Lamar will rush for at least 70. So I believe and adding Gus included, I'm going to go the Ravens have over 300 rushing yards in this game.
Wow. Yeah, I like that prediction a lot. I mean, I could definitely see that happening because, like you just said, they're definitely weak at that linebacker spot. And, these guys in this offensive line, I know people are saying, hey, you guys lost Yonder. That's going to be a huge blow. It is, but I still think this offensive line is pretty good. This running schemes, just everything with Greg Roman, I do think the success is still going to be there. We're going to be maybe even be better than we was last year running the football. So I would not be surprised at all if we had 300 yards rushing. I would not be surprised at all. That would be amazing to see, and I would be enjoying every bit of it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about our offensive line is it's really not as bad as what people make it out to be. Like, yes, we lost Yonda, but we have two amazing bookends in Ronnie Stanley and Orlando Brown Jr. We have the best blocking tight end in the league in Nick Boyle. That's going to help out a lot. We have Patrick Card, who's probably the best blocking fullback in the league. That's also going to help out a lot. And the thing is Bradley Bozeman played really well last year. We still have him at left guard. If Matt Skura can return to his form that he was at before his injury, we're good at center. It's really just right guard and us figuring out who's the best option at right guard. Whether it's Fluker, Tyree Phillips, Ben Bredesen, Ben Powers, we don't really know. The Ravens are going to use this game to see really who is the guy to replace Marshall Yonda. I believe that once we get that figured out, we're going to be straight.
Yeah, definitely agree. I mean, I just can't wait to see. I just can't wait for Sunday. I mean, it's time. Football's back. I can't wait to watch it. It's going to be good cheering on the Ravens. It's going to be exciting. Definitely see how this offense works out. And also looking out for the Bengals. I know they go up against the Chargers. Big Joe Burrow fan. I'm going to love to see him. He's in our division. Seeing the Steelers of Big Ben coming back. So it's definitely a couple games looking out for. But it's going to be very exciting this year.
Oh yeah, for sure. And with everything that's going on in this world right now, we need football, and football's back. That's all I gotta say. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at everything_Ravens. I post all the up-to-date Ravens news. Make sure to follow at Everything Ravens Podcast on Instagram to get all the news regarding this podcast. Do you have any final words, Kyrie?
Yeah, listen, just great to be talking football again. Everybody watch the game on Sunday. I know I will. I'm going to have my jersey on, my Doritos, and I'm probably going to be saying a lot of curse words. And we'll talk more next podcast about the game. Football is back.
I mean, hey, that's what matters. We're all going to be glued to our TV on Sunday. But yeah, I'd just like to thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully watch the Ravens beat the Browns. Have a good day.
He broke his ankles. Now he's got an entourage. And he's got a touchdown. He is Houdini. What a play. 40, 30, 20, 10. One man to beat. Touchdown, Ravens.
They gonna get a Super Bowl out of me. Believe that.